Chapter 3, Part 2. Present Day. Will awoke in the guest bedroom of his parents' home situated in Lexington, Massachusetts. Across the hall stood his childhood bedroom, appearing unchanged since the time before his wedding. Now, as a married man, his mother had thoughtfully prepared the guest room for Will and Anne. The guest room boasted greater amenities than Will's old bedroom, featuring an ensuite bathroom and all the comforts a couple might need. It marked the first time that Will had ever slept in this part of the house he had grown up in. He had initially yearned for the familiar comforts of his own room, which was perfectly suitable, but he didn't want to disappoint his mother. She had recently renovated the bathroom, and her joy in its use was palpable. Anne had lived down the street from Will for her entire life, despite an 8-year age gap. Will's mom considered Anne and her brother Brian, who happened to be Will's best friend, as an integral part of their family. She couldn't have been happier with her new daughter-in-law. Anne held a special place in her heart for Will's mom and had even worked in her office during college and medical school. Anne's own mother had tragically passed away from breast cancer when she was an infant, and her brothers were still in grade school. Her father, an old-school gentleman, had never sought to replace his wife and had never even considered it. Will glanced at his phone, noting the time at 5:23 a.m. Darkness still enveloped the outside world, with gentle snowfall gracing the landscape. He looked to his right, where Anne peacefully slumbered in the cozy king-size bed of the guest bedroom. The warmth of his family home, particularly during the cold and snowy winter, made him feel at ease and content. He was delighted to be back home. It suddenly struck Will that it was Christmas Eve. As he carefully rose from his bed, thoughts of donuts and coffee immediately filled his mind. He knew the local donut shop was open, and there was no better time than now to head into the village and fetch a few cups of coffee and a dozen donuts. Donuts were just one of those American indulgences that Ireland couldn't quite match. Whether they were glazed, jelly-filled, Boston cream, or chocolate-covered, the options were endless. It wasn't that Ireland lacked donuts. In fact, donut shops had recently become ubiquitous in Dublin. However, Will didn't find them as satisfying. Irish donuts tended to be denser, more like hefty cakes that could fill a person up with just one. In contrast, American donuts allowed you to enjoy several without feeling overly full. The same applied to coffee. The economic aspect was another notable difference. Will's local donut shop in the United States offered quality at a fraction of the price compared to Irish establishments. Despite the chilly weather and snow outside, Will knew Anne would appreciate an iced coffee. He had often toyed with the idea of franchising his local donut shop and introducing it to Ireland, but based on his experiences in the country, he believed it wouldn't succeed. He felt marked, blacklisted, much like many other Irish individuals who had fought for their property and loan redemption rights that had since disappeared in Ireland. Will quickly realized that a venture like high-quality donuts and affordable coffee would only invite theft by Irish elites in due course. It was the unfortunate reality of business in Ireland. Large franchises were safe, but smaller ventures owned by individuals were vulnerable to exploitation by the Irish oligarchy. In Ireland, no one's intellectual property was secure because most accountants and solicitors were part of an exclusive club. Doing business in Ireland invariably involved availing their services. Will had learned that the term Chinese walls, employed by Irish professionals to instill a false sense of security for those with business ideas, was nothing but a ruse to disarm Irish innovators of their concepts. The financial firms in Ireland had an even more cunning strategy. They allowed innovators to spend their funds on an idea and then introduced a seemingly benign investor or provided bank backing to expand the concept into a larger business. This, however, was a scheme to eventually take over the business, leaving the innovator burdened with massive debts that would be wiped clean in exchange for their shares, purchased at rock-bottom prices. This was the way business was conducted in Ireland, much like what King was doing with Irish Energy and Will Quinlan's shareholding. Anne's light, sleepy voice broke the darkness of the bedroom as Will dressed in the corner. She inquired, "Where are you going?" "I'm just going to get some coffee and donuts," Will replied softly. "Do you want me to come with you?" Anne asked, adjusting herself in bed to better see Will. "No, you sleep, sweetheart. Have a good rest, and the donuts will be waiting for you when you wake up. I'll get you a cappuccino and an iced coffee," Will reassured her. "That would be amazing. Can you get hazelnut in my cappuccino and non-sweetened in my iced coffee?" Anne requested in her half-asleep state. "Of course," Will whispered as he leaned in to kiss Anne on the cheek before leaving the room, bundled up to brave the snow and sub-zero temperatures that had coincided with Christmas. "Don't forget your hat. It's freezing outside," Anne reminded him before drifting back to sleep. Will made his way quietly down the dark upstairs hallway, descended the spiral stairs of his parents' four-bedroom home, and turned left into the small hallway leading to the kitchen. The kitchen was flanked by a small family room on one side and a door to a back room leading into the garage on the other. A row of keys hung on the wall next to the door, and Will selected the keys to his dad's four-wheel drive. Frank, despite having the means to afford high-end luxury cars, had a preference for four-wheel drive Jeeps, provided they had diesel engines. They were machines capable of traversing any snowstorm and towing heavy loads. A true engineer at heart, Frank was. Will pressed the button to open the garage door, reversed the vehicle out of the garage and down the short driveway. The cold was undeniably harsh, but Will relished it. It was a crisp, clean cold, with over a foot of snow blanketing the ground. 20 minutes later, Will was back in the kitchen, perched on a stool by the island. He savored his donuts and coffee, with the small kitchen TV tuned to a news network in the background. Just at that moment, Will's mom entered the kitchen through the door leading from the front hallway. "Good morning, sweetie," Margaret, who had gone by Mags her whole life, greeted as she walked into the kitchen. An avid athlete, she was all bundled up and ready to go to the gym. "You're up early," Mags observed. Will replied, "Morning, Mom. Yeah, still on Irish time." "Is Anne sleeping?" Mags inquired in a hushed tone. "Yeah," Will confirmed. "She got in late last night. I was crashing, so Brian and I called it a night around 10. I think she stayed out past midnight with her friends. I was asleep by the time she got home." Mags, with a smile, asked, "How many donuts did you buy?" She directed her attention to the 2 boxes of donuts on the countertop of the island, accompanied by 2 iced coffees and 4 hot coffees, 2 blueberry and 2 hazelnut flavored. "I set out to get a dozen, but since everyone is coming over tonight, I thought I would get a few more. They should stay fresh until tonight if they aren't eaten before then," Will quipped to his mom. Mag said, "Try not to eat them all then." "Would you like one?" Will offered, gesturing to the boxes. "I'm good, sweetie," she declined. "Would you like a blueberry or hazelnut coffee?" Will asked, pointing to one of the 4 coffees on the island. "I got extras." "Did you buy one for me?" she asked, pleasantly surprised. "For you, me, and Anne. I figure you would be up soon," Will replied. "I'd love a blueberry one," Mags responded, feeling delighted that the house was no longer empty and her son was back with her. "I'm off to the gym," she announced as she headed toward the garage. "Are we still meeting for lunch at 1? Mags inquired. "Absolutely. I can't wait. I already know what I'm going to order," Will said with a smile as he took another bite of his breakfast. "Great. Enjoy your donuts. It's so great to have you home. Now save some for Anne," Mags said, closing the door behind her. Will returned to watching the news when a report flashed across the screen. Next on Channel 7 News, Robert Burma, the New York hedge fund manager and former NYSE chairman who was sentenced to over 150 years for his $60 billion Ponzi scheme following the 2008 financial crisis, has died in prison from complications associated with his battle with cancer. Will perked up, put down his coffee, and fixed his gaze on the TV.